Thanks everyone for being on the call earlier. It was fantastic to get all your questions. We couldn't get all of them answered, and there was a pearler, there was a classic, it was a really good one. And so I wanted to make sure that Michaela and Jeremy had a chance to answer that. And this is it. So, how do we equip managers into making them become leaders in the future? And the real hot one, the hot topic on this one is, do we even need managers anymore? I'm going to let Jeremy go for that one first.
Well, I think some of the things coming through for chat really raise the point about this. It's almost merging between leadership and management. We have to almost display all of these characteristics: leadership doing the right things, management doing in the right way. And if we're actually helping them to move forward into this transition, I think there are three key things. First of all, it starts with mindset. Don't start down a road with people that aren't willing to change. That is really the key. You've got to bust some of the myths that are there, give them the reasons to believe, and give them that kind of all-important cost of doing nothing, which is potentially business failure. That's the first. The second is around technology, which is organizations like, for example, Citibank, for example, they introduced a couple of years ago a very, very successful technique of reverse mentoring. So they brought their youngest, brightest millennials who were tech savvy across the organization into the boardroom to give spot coaching on technologies that could work for the leadership teams, which reinforced the mentality piece, but gave them the skill piece. And the third final one for them, for management, the companies like International SOS, DBS Banks have done rapid learning hackathons around things like remote working, remote tools, technologies, which have forced executive management and middle management into actually experiencing failure and then moving from that to then start to implement and champion it internally.
Fantastic. So actually by learning by doing, not only with hackathons, but also kind of ground force upwards kind of learning, grassroots upwards, and different demographics mixing together. Michaela, what's your answer for this brilliant question, which is, do we really need managers anymore?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question. I would like to re-emphasize what Jeremy said with finding managers who are willing to change. And the point I would like to add to what you mentioned is the new way of thinking of the team, because really there's different skills, different capabilities within the team. And there are some tasks that some other employees might lead on for a certain project, for example. So manager doesn't need to lead at all times. There could be some projects where you change the dynamics of your team, and a person who is perhaps very result oriented or very detail focused or very agile is much better equipped for a certain project. So this is an ideal. I know it's very difficult in a corporate environment to suddenly think, let's just change managers on a month-to-month basis. But I think there's a stepping stone to it. So first thing is to recognize that sometimes perhaps it's better to delegate leadership to people who are more capable for a certain task.
Fantastic. So it's about agility of that management, as you rightly say, but also it might even be agility of the leadership and the people above them to actually then say, actually, you'll be a great manager, and promoting and kind of not necessarily depromoting, but promoting people instantly into a managerial role as the values kind of come apparent. That's a fantastic answer from both of you. So I'd just like to thank everyone again for coming onto the call today. Thanks very much for Flock for sponsoring it and being part of it. Of course, Jeremy being our keynote. Find out more at www.yourflock.co.uk, and also in a link provided, I believe, Mikel, we are going to be able to give away 10 free value surveys for individuals. They can create their own profile, which then create their own team culture map, so you can really have a look and investigate those values.